Welcome to Money Talks. My name is Mike Campbell. Lots of stuff to discuss today, especially that Thursday night debate, presidential debate. I've got Don Violo on with me. Don does the cyclical analysis and the seasonal analysis that lets us know what is the probability of an up move between now and the presidential election. I'll get more into that with him. Also got Victor Adair. I've got Michael Levy on our inflation numbers, but I've got Ozzie Jurock. Big question for me, at least, coming out of the capital gains tax increase, and that is that all there is? What's the next tax increase? And it got me thinking and got me worrying, maybe they're going to put primary residences on the table. After all, the rhetoric surrounding the increase for the capital gains tax, it would be very familiar with the rhetoric they'd use if they were indeed going to start taxing our primary residents. But as Ozzie will tell us, hey, they already are. More on that. But first, is there anybody in the country who doesn't think that Canada has serious divisions? I mean, we just got the Ipsos poll done, I think on Friday, released, and that leaves little doubt, with 70% of respondents agreeing that Canada is broken. And before those wanting to blame that on Pierre Poilievre, Ipsos says that it's not his fault. Rather, in quotes, he's capturing a mood. It's not something that Pierre Poilievre has created. He's simply identifying the condition that he's seeing in the Canadian public and calling it out and labeling it. Ipsos president Darrell Bricker sums up the findings by saying he's been in the polling business 35 years, and it's the worst outlook he's seen. Well, I have a cheeky suggestion that could dramatically reduce the kind of rancor we're seeing, the vitriol, the confrontation, disharmony, nastiness. And the latest manifestation of that, of the serious divisions in the country, has to be with the increase in the capital gains tax. And as I said last week, there's going to be no reconciling the two sides. More taxes, bigger government versus lower taxes, reducing the size of government, eliminating the deficit. Helped along, by the way, by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, who, reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's infamous depiction of anyone who didn't support her as deplorable, well, the finance minister said that anyone who didn't support the Liberals' progressive side was, in quotes, cold, cruel, and small, and reflected not believing in our communities and our neighbors. Well, come on, that isn't going to bridge any divides in the country. You know, I think it's important, though, to note what Nelson Mandela said when he said, when we dehumanize and demonize our opponents, we abandon the possibility of peacefully resolving our differences. But you know what? No one should be surprised. I mean, as Quebec Liberal MP, was the head of the Liberal MP caucus in Quebec at the time, Joel Lightbound stated, from a positive and unifying approach, a decision was made to wedge, to divide, and to stigmatize. Well, you know, COVID was a wedge issue, but there's so many other examples, with the latest being reviving that old class warfare divide with the increase in capital gains tax. And I think the rampant anti-Semitism. I'm not suggesting that divisions in the country are new. I mean, for goodness sakes, for decades, we dealt with a separatist movement in Quebec. We've had deep east-west divisions for years, especially when it comes to the energy industry. But the polling finds it's worse than ever. I don't know, maybe social media plays a big part in amplifying and intensifying the divisions. But my point here is not to criticize or assess either point of view, but rather to point out they're irreconcilable. No matter what side of the issue, it's hard to argue, though, that the current level of disharmony is beneficial to Canada, especially if it escalates more into violence, as we've seen at times in other countries. And that brings me to my solution. I say let's separate the two opposing sides and put them in different parts of the country. One side of the country will feature more government intervention, more regulation, higher individual tax rates aimed at the top 10% of income earners, along with a wealth tax for the top 1%, plus higher corporate taxes for mid and large businesses. And for that group, climate change would be the top issue. In this area of the country, though, government's role in society will be increasing. More subsidies, more control of the internet, the workforce will be unionized, and they'll have government monopolies in healthcare, education, daycare, senior care. With economic policy, though, secondary to the climate agenda. In short, it reflects the current progressive agenda. But the other region, on the other hand, will have lower personal and business taxes. The public sector would be smaller as government focuses only on core services like healthcare, education, trade, defense, while working towards a balanced budget. Its focus would be on the economy, on increasing productivity, attracting capital investment. They'd welcome the energy industry. In other words, that area reflects the opposition to the government. It reflects the major political and philosophical divisions that are so evident in Canada today. But the benefit would be immediate. We'd have less confrontation. Of course we would. Less vitriol, less nastiness, a more harmonious society. Presto, mission accomplished. Well, let me finish with an important question, though. And I know from past experience, it's a question that some people won't like. Let's visit the two regions in 10 years. See which one has a higher standard of living, which one has more money for hospitals, for schools, senior care, which area has less unemployment, higher wages. Because you know what? I don't think it would be close. Any jurisdiction that hasn't figured out that wealth creation is actually the foundation of wealth redistribution has ended up with far less innovation, lower levels of economic growth, and a lower standard of living. Now, here's the really unpopular part of that question. I'm going to leave this one to you to answer. Which jurisdiction can better survive without the other? Hey, just a reminder, by the way, you can join us on our YouTube channel. Great thing to do on the long weekend. You can go to past episodes, etc. So join us on YouTube. Michael Campbell's Money Talks on YouTube. Same thing you can do on Facebook, though, and join us on Money Talks tweets. You got some time this weekend? Hey, pass on some of this information, share it with friends, have a debate, open up the discussion. Hey, that's a great way to start our summer. And we got more coming for you, so stay with us right here on Money Talks.